much for coming. I am absolutely elated that you were here because these are quite literally my dreams come true. So thank you for being a part of this. How many of you are practitioners? Sweet. Okay, cool. Do we all work with weight loss? Oh, no.
Sometimes.
Sometimes. Okay. Okay. Does anybody, you're welcome to share if you'd like, has anybody experienced emotional eating or eating disorders or know someone that has experienced? Okay. What are some of the questions that you have? What brought you out? What do you want to know so far? Can I go to get us started?
I'm an instructor.
Okay.
And I love having more knowledge and information to share with my students.
Awesome. Okay, more knowledge and information.
Yeah.
To share with your students. How do you?
I was interested in how to keep it off like emotional eating, how to why, like
Yeah.
why.
Yeah.
Off the big box.
Definitely. That's a good word. Anybody else?
How do you best adjust the food and noise, that constant chattering to eating?
Okay, that's just good. Awesome. Awesome chattering. Anybody else?
Good question.
What brought you to this? Cool.
My truck, but
But
I have like 5 different sizes of pens in my class.
Okay.
From 32 to 38.
Thank you for sharing. There's lots of different drivers for emotional eating. And I call it emotional eating only because it is easier for me to kind of go from the blanket of stressful eating or heartbreak eating or bored eating or overwhelmed eating. So I just call it emotional in general. Some people, and I do notice that you guys listen to practice out. What you'll notice is in your clients, they might not consider themselves an emotional eater. They might just say, oh, I can't stop eating, or, I just went through a period of time in my life and all I do is find myself eating and now I've gained a whole bunch of weight. So raw food, I don't talk about, they should eat this and they should exercise about this because that's not my area to say anything about. I'm not a nutritionist, I'm not a physician. I do talk about the why, because food is a transporter. Food is ultimately getting that individual to a better feeling place. So I go after the why. Why are they eating? What's happening? There's something else going on. So a lot of what I teach really is about the core foundation that I just shared with you. And thank you very much. The core foundation is that there are patterns that are running. And why are they running? It's because likely they just picked up the experience somewhere. So that's the reason that I came up with the patterns. And I did officially write a book about this. If anybody knows Dr. Richard Nongard and take the 12-week course, this is something that really does work. So that's how I ended up writing a book on it. So when we're talking about the patterns, what are the drivers? So for example, there are 5 key patterns that I talk about in my book, and especially in the certification course that I now teach. And there is the perfectionist pattern, the people pleaser pattern, the protection pattern, the comfort, and the control. And these are all really, really important. So in those, there's also sub-patterns. So for example, when it comes to protection pattern, and you might have somebody say, I can't stop eating. And okay, well tell me about the last time it happened. And the last time it happened might have been, well, I went to work the other day and we had a conversation in the boardroom and then and as they're talking, they'll start to come up with what they're experiencing. And sometimes it can be that somebody made a comment or looked at their body. Now if you go back and you ask that person, okay, what was going on there? What did that make you feel? As you start to talk to them, their memories start to reveal themselves to you. And oftentimes, for example, in a protective pattern, there is individuals who put weight on because bad things happened to them at one point. And there were violations to that body. Sometimes it's very interactions with sexual abuse. And what that individual then learns is that it's not safe to be in my body. I was too pretty or I was too attractive. I need to find a way to protect myself. and they will work effectively to pass on the weight. So now, how does this keep going? Now this person is an individual and an adult, they're an adult, and they're moving about their life and they're wanting to have an intimate relationship. Okay, great, now they are in an intimate relationship, but it doesn't feel safe because now this person is touching them. They will continue to pass on weight because this is a barrier. If I can become unattractive even to my loved one, even to my loved one, I can still feel safe. The subconscious will work overtime at keeping you safe, even if it doesn't make sense. Especially when it comes to, if you have say your client is in a relationship, in a marriage, and this person will make comments to them like, oh, you should do this, or oh, you should do this. Now you're getting more information coming to this person. Now what happens is that the significant other and the individual are no longer in a safe space because now somebody's criticizing them. So now I really don't want to take my clothes off their feet because you're no longer safe. But because we are human, we then still have sexual desires, and we will start to eat to satisfy those sexual desires. So this is how patterns occur. Their experiences, and you can see how they've now stepped on top of each other. So when it comes to that one, there's also one such as fear of success. Okay? Very specifically for success, and these patterns, they tend to overlap, but what I do teach, and especially in my certification course, is I'll give my practitioners a checklist and a layout of, here are some questions that you can ask your client, and this is going to guide you as to which two are the dominant ones. So fear of success. Let's say you happen to have somebody who was successful at their weight loss, okay? So I've now lost 60 pounds, and now people are starting to notice, oh wow, you've done so great, you've done so great. And now they're getting more attention for this thing that they're successful for. But if they're not ready to feel seen, if they're not comfortable being seen, they will start to put the weight back on. Now, even though they were successful, they've now failed at it. And how many times, especially if you have somebody that's, for example, stuck in a perfectionist pattern, if they're not absolutely perfect, they will, if they're off for one day, they will drop the entire week. Then they'll start again on Monday. And now we have a repeating pattern of failure because how many times have we started on Monday? And if I'm successful at this, what do I have to do after this? Because if I can then lose weight, what's the next thing in my life that I might need to focus on? Because this is still keeping me safe. I don't have to do certain things because this is my only focus. So if I wanted to, say I wanted to go and be a performer, or I wanted to start my acting career, well, when I lose the weight, when I lose the weight, when I lose the weight. Now, that thing is scary. This is uncomfortable. But I will stay here because this is, I can tolerate this. That one's really, really uncomfortable. Your familiar hell is better than your unfamiliar hell. So this is why people really do get stuck. And it drives me nuts when it comes to the culture. And they're like, oh, work out for 30 minutes a day, you'll be fine. And just eat this and that. And it's just, they're constantly bombarding people to do this, to do that, to do this, to do that. But we're all individual. And how we coded our experiences really does matter. Does anybody have any questions? I love questions. So you're all welcome to ask questions as much as you like. Okay.
So there's, and you're probably going to get to that, but it's basically, there's a whole series of steps because you're going to get here, and then there's this, and then there's just like you said, there's more things. And each one's got an emotion attached to it, right?
Well, usually when if you go after a main pattern or a big problem, so let's say somebody, I was good all day, and then I came home and I just lost it. I ate everything in the kitchen. What's happening is if that's their most dominant behavior, you can still work with that, and what will happen is going after that one will help reduce the other ones, the other times that they're coming up, so it might not be turning to food if they're upset. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and can you start with it's not good or bad? Neither is true.
That it's not good or bad. Food is just food. We villainize it. We villainize our hunger. Oh, don't get hungry. God forbid we get hungry. And then we have to constantly think about feeding ourselves, and now we're obsessing over food. Another one that I talk about is the people-pleasing pattern. So has ever been told to eat everything on your plate?
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
So we're starting in Europe.
Yep. So now we learn from a very early age, don't trust my body. I was told to do this. Now I'm in a habit of doing this. So then when I go visit people and I'm told, oh, this family knows, like for example, I was taught you have to clear your plate. So now when I'm 30 something, I'm going to a barbecue and now I'm having a freak out because A, what are people going to say about the food that is on my plate? And then B, now I have to eat it all. So we have a lot going on. And C, a control pattern can come in, which is I would go to a barbecue, even though I knew the people, I knew the food would be there, I knew I would eventually eat. But my nervous system was getting so heightened from I'm not in control. I don't know when I'm going to eat. I don't know what I'm going to eat. And so what I would end up doing would be eating the entire week before just in case. And it's not logical. Like, Lenora, you're okay. You're going to eat in 4 hours. You're not going to fall apart. But what's happening is that there's such an emotional driver of going, I'm not in control and I need to get in control right now because of all the other stressors that people can interpret throughout their life. Especially if you're anticipating having a magical made-up fight in your head about somebody. And, or if you're in an argument, or what are they going to say, and you don't actually say the things that you want to this person. So now you start to stress yourself, and as you're stressing yourself, you are stimulating your entire system, and it's going, oh my God, I'm having more stress. I need to get to safety. How do I get to safety? One of the fastest routes is food. So when you're having, especially when you're having a made-up argument in your head, it really does affect us. And I noticed this one day when I was putting on makeup, and it was 6 in the morning, and normally I was not eating till like 8 or 9 that time. And I've done so many different things. And I was thinking of having a conversation with somebody, and before I know it, I was like, I need food. I need food. And I could not figure out what it was, and I had to retrace my steps. And it was like, what was I just thinking? What was I just thinking? Why all of a sudden? Especially when we're talking about hunger, we have hunger. So like for me, my hunger is usually right under my ribs, up on the left-hand side. When we're really paying attention, you will notice your hunger moves. And sometimes it's in your throat. Sometimes you're like, I really need something in my mouth. Or, yeah, no, this side, like, this side can be really active for certain people. If you study anything with human design, your emotional center can be on this side, and that can trigger a lot of, I need to get to safety. Something is wrong. Even if you're thinking, oh, I really want to take action on this project, but first I need to eat. It really does happen. So the first thing that I teach is to begin with awareness. When we can begin with awareness, we give ourselves power because we're not judging the things that are going on. It really just is, I want to become the observer in my life. I want to really pay attention without focusing on I shouldn't or I should. I need to do this, I need to do this. What's happening? When we can suspend our own judgment and our own shame, the world becomes a completely different place. Be careful of your inner critic. Your inner critic can really run the show if you're not paying attention to the voices in your head. And one of the things that I teach is how to pay attention to the voices in your head, because we're constantly talking to ourselves. So if you're going out to do something, and what's a common thought that people might have? Any frequent thought that pops up in your head that you're like, no, I need to do this, or I need to do that, or something along the lines of shame or guilt. Okay, so let's
Every single day, where is that?
Working out more.
okay, so like I need to work out more. Okay, especially now if I'm gonna take a little detour here. I need to work out. For example, for your clients who are saying I need to work out or I want to work out, when it comes to working out, what does it mean to them and what does it mean about them? Because they're very different things. When I had to work out, I had to work out because I grew up in the 80s and the 90s to lose weight. It wasn't to take care of my body. It wasn't because this is good for me. It was very specifically, you work out to lose weight, which must mean you are X, Y, and Z. So when you're noticing certain things, question your own thoughts. And when you can question your own thoughts, or when your clients can question their own thoughts, you again suspend judgment. So an inner critic would be like, I can't wear that. I look terrible in that. But I'm too fat for that. Okay, so now I just said a slew of words. I'm too fat. I can't wear that. And okay, we're just gonna go with this. Lost my train of thought. I'm talking about me. Verse, you can't do this. You're too fat for that. Oh, somebody's talking to me. And the only difference was I and you. So when you can start to really notice your thoughts and even encourage people to write them down, what's going on? Because these are echoes, these are narratives that we are taught, or we pick up, or we choose to start thinking, and we've now made meaning from them. Now we need to work our way through that and extract, where did that thought come from? Who gave it to us? When did we learn that? One of the big ones that was for me was, you don't need that. You don't need that right now. You don't need that right now. And somebody would come over and take the food from me. So whether it was snacks, whether it was pretzels, or something else, you don't need that right now. So they come over and take the food from me rather than, oh, do you want any more? Or whatever, however people are growing up. But in that case, now I had a separation. I had somebody took this from me. So now I have to rebel. I have to find a way to get it back. So now now people can become really sneaky with their food. And it's not because they're trying to lie. It's because they're working to get back to safety because something was taken from them without their consent. So now we have to make sure that we can reestablish that says, I choose. I choose when I want to eat. I choose what I eat. Other people don't have control over that. But if they're still thinking that they're 5 years old and somebody took it away from them only because they didn't want them to have 20 Oreos because they knew they'd probably get sick, you understand that. But that 5-year-old, all they know is, you took something from me and I'm not okay with that. Or anytime you're hearing the word you, and you can definitely ask your clients to pay attention. What's happening is somebody else is coming into this memory. So one of them that I used to do was my family would keep a cute little Christmas glass jar of Reese's peanut butter cups, and it was my go-to. Oh my gosh, I was so happy enjoying them. And I remember vividly being 4 or 5, and we would get in trouble for whoever ate the candy. I'm thinking, well, don't leave candy out for our kids.
Yeah, right.
But we would get in trouble, okay? So now, how do we make sure that we can still get what we want? We start hiding wrappers. And I learned it fast. Yeah. Or you position things differently in a box so other people don't notice that you ate it. Or you hide it.
Oh, that's a problem?
Only if you're caught.
So things really do come up. So it really is about asking your clients, and that's why I say it's a very personal and very personable, because they're going to share with you things that they are incredibly ashamed of. Incredibly. And quite honestly, it took me ages and ages to even be able to get a coach on the phone, to get a practitioner on the call, because there's so much shame. When shame is flooding your system, it is so overwhelming, and you will do anything you possibly can to get away from it. And this is very shame-based, as in the drivers are shaming us. The drivers are, you shouldn't be doing X, Y, and Z. You need to be doing X, Y, and Z. And when that happens, this individual is now not only eating, they're also hearing it as they eat. And then their inner critic kicks in after they eat, and it gets louder and louder. So really helping them to notice their voices and to pay attention to the insights or the thoughts that these voices are giving them.
So a lot of roots in powerlessness.
And trying to get back power. Yeah. Even though you're thinking, but they often say eating is a control. To some extent it is, but it's also feeling that you can feel okay in not eating and just being with food. And it's okay. Especially if in the 80s and 90s we grew up hearing so much about food that it became villainized, and then your body became villainized, and there had to be a separation. And that to me is, I often say, especially on the, when you hear me on a podcast, I'll say like, my eating disorder started, it was 2 decades long. My eating disorder started at like 6. And it was because there was just so many other things going on in the environment. I was working to try and stay calm and stay and get control and to not get in trouble and to stay out of the way. And it's not because people that raised me were bad people. They weren't bad people. It was just, this was what I was doing and this is what I thought was the best, and that's how I lived. And then I didn't notice how much worse it got, because especially when you're in it, you don't realize how bad it is until you're faced with a dental bill that's about $1,500 for a tooth. And then you're thinking, how do I get out of this? Because I've been trying to get out of it. So when clients come to me, oftentimes they've tried and failed more times than we can really count. And thank you for the head nodding, because I can see you remember that. So when it comes to one of them that I wanted to talk to, especially about people pleasing and yes. So people pleasing. There's such a thing as you're now in the family. You're in the family form, and we're all overweight. And now they're like 16, 17, kids are 16, 17 years old, and adults are older. And one of them wants to start getting healthy. So now you have 3 that are overweight, and one of them starting to get healthy. They will go after the one that's starting to lose the weight. And because we want to be in the tribe, we want to be included, that person will often default back to their habits because, oh my God, now I'm different. Aside from being shamed about their healthy habits or ashamed about the changes that they're making, they're now getting attention. And all this attention, wow, you look so great. Oh my gosh. And if they can't hold the posture and hold the frame and hold the safety in their nervous system for that weight loss, they will often collapse, and they will collapse back to habits that keep them safe because they don't feel safe with all this attention coming to them. And another one, if anybody knows anybody with an eating disorder, it's quite a challenge because there really are so many things that go into it, and I couldn't figure out what was happening and why one moment I could be fine and why the next moment I wasn't fine. And people often ask, especially with there is a difference between anorexic and bulimic, and then people who quite literally chew and then expectorate food or spit out food. And what's going on is when it's coming back out, they're not worthy of it. They're not deserving of it. They have to literally reject it from their body. That's why it's coming out. So this is how it gets into a worthiness, deserving. Especially if you were taught words like, who said you could do that? You don't deserve that. You should be ashamed. What's happening, aside from when they're little, they're getting all this shame and all this guilt. You should be. And now they're starting to pick up that narrative, and now that narrative becomes an echo throughout their head. And this is how they get so embedded. And I've seen videos of, people, they're just putting food in front of somebody who's anorexic, and they're like, just eat extra food. And they're screaming at this individual, and the nervous system is just getting so overwhelmed, it doesn't know what to do. So this is why one of the foundations that I teach is safety. There is no judgment. There is no shame. And the faster you can get your client into a safe space, into a safe, whether it's a safe rapport with you, or you can build a safe scene. I teach about building a safe scene. One of the techniques that I'm certified in is holographic memory resolution, and it is a phenomenal technique. And being able to help that person understand for possibly the first time in their life what safety feels like. You help them regulate and start to practice holding the feeling of safety. So that way when the inner critic kicks in, they have a base to return to. This is why it's so important. Because then when we're working with people, yes, it's great to work with people, but what I'm very passionate about is empowering them to take care of themselves, because we want them, we can do the heavy lifting with them. The little things that might pop up after they work with us, they want to be able to manage, but they have to know how to do it first. And that's why it's so important to work with somebody who can keep them safe, who can help them get to a better place and can dismantle the entanglement that they're in, or the entangled trance that they're in. Any questions so far? Yes.
And you might be getting to. So
besides like the awareness and interoception, and obviously working with you, it is safe. But after session 1, they're still going out there.
Yes.
Now they've got this awareness, and sometimes that's where you're teaching them down regulation tools too.
Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely. And I can pass this around. This is the manual that I teach for the certification course. But also there are tools in it for clients, so that way the protocols that I teach, I'm going to share one with you guys. The protocols that I teach are written for you, and then there's a quick reference so that you can give it to your client. And then there's also an awareness tool for them, and some people like a shorter one, some people like a shorter one, and it's really up to them. But the more we can encourage people to, the more we can encourage people to listen to their thoughts and to lost my train of thought. The more we can encourage people to listen to their thoughts, but yes, to keep themselves safe is very important. And if you can help them understand that this is for observation, that they can look at it and they can look at themselves and they don't have to beat themselves up. It does not have to be an argument, and that it really just is working our way through. They can then take that intensity that goes through them, they can take it down a couple notches, and that can be really helpful.
So there's a parallel process in learning how to not judge yourself.
Yes.
That's totally separate from both of those emotions. That's a whole nother.
A parallel process to, yes, to not judge yourself.
So you mentioned that linear is like not where they need to expel the body. Where anorexia fall in?
Deserving. I don't deserve food. Yeah, I don't deserve nutrition, especially when people can understand logically that they don't deserve, that they deserve something. But if the word has been weaponized against them, with somebody telling them they don't deserve something, or they're not worthy, or that they should be ashamed, you're taking their words and you're weaponizing against them, and that's where it really comes in. Especially if we reinforce, oh, you get to have dessert, it's Friday night, you deserve it, you've been good all week. And now if they were bad, oh, I don't deserve it. But now, I'm an adult, I can think for myself. And when we make up our own rules, such as I'm going to have a healthy lifestyle, or I'm going to do this, we make up our own rules and we say, okay, now I'm going to stick to these, which is a great thing. And then 5 o'clock, your inner rebel comes out and starts going, you can't tell me what to do. And it can kick you right in the butt, unfortunately. But that's because there is that rebel pattern. The rebel pattern is one that I talk about a little bit more in, I think it's the control one, because it wants that ability to choose. And that's where we are having so many conflicts, because the voices in our head. Who's talking? How much clarity can I have on the voices that are talking to me? Especially if we're hearing it in the authority that we were raised in. If you hear people, or even if you do some subconscious work and you say, okay, well, whose voice is that? And you go, oh, well, it's my voice. Okay, I want you to look a little bit more. If that was you dressed in a costume, and you unzip the costume, who comes out? A lot of the time,
I like that.
Yeah, there's another person in there, because what can sound like our voice isn't typically our voice. And one of the questions that I often ask is, who gave you that thought? And when we can notice our thoughts as in who gave it to us, I had to ask this question to myself, who gave this to us? And it was almost like it got passed across the table to me, like a plate of cookies. Eat. And it was wild when I started to see that. When you ask who gave you this, it's going to be incredibly helpful, because now we can go, oh, I wasn't born thinking this way. Okay, so then who came and gave me this thought? Where was I? When? How old was I? And that can be extraordinarily powerful, because these are all in our memories. These are in our subconscious, and especially as practitioners, we know that. One thing that I very much help my clients do is weed through the voices in their head, weed through their thoughts. And it's not like they have to go in after every single thought or every single belief. Usually after you go from the really big ones, the other ones will start to dismantle, very quickly. Does anybody have any questions for any clients that are kind of coming to mind, or anything in their life that's coming to mind?
So much.
Yes.
I wasn't expected, but this scenario, you know, it's like, wow.
Awesome. That's great to hear. And go for it. Ashley.
Can you speak to this? This is not my forte or niche. So, orthorexia. What is this all about? Is it like health? I get so confused, but I don't even know what it is.
Yeah.
Just limited amount of foods. Orthorexia limits you choices to, let's say, just meat.
Okay.
Just ortho.
So it's a
Narrow
control.
Lots
thing.
of chicken nuggets.
Yeah, so you eat just certain types of food. You eliminate everything. Oh, well, not eliminate, but limits everything else. But, so that's orthorexia.
I don't understand that one at all.
Well, some people just like, right now, the keto, the paleo diet, they will limit their food choices to certain foods and eliminate everything else. So.
Some of them do it outside of dieting too. They do it from early on. They knew these foods were safe, and then they keep going all the way through into childhood when you can't do that in public.
Yeah, absolutely. So as a
Yeah, no, I knew a young man that only ate things that were white. Yeah. And,
Kids do that. It's not that they won't eat certain colors.
and he was going into middle school and thought,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to eat my lunch with other people.
There was, as a speech pathologist, I've also worked in the NICU, and I've worked in neonatal care units and pediatric care units, and I've been on the feeding team. And for kids that are already experiencing or who come into this world with difficulty eating, there is another layer that gets incorporated. So sometimes it might be that they had reflux at 6 months old, and what they learn instinctively is this isn't safe, and this is how some babies are getting feeding tubes, or certain foods if they had a bad reaction or a bad response to it. Like if they were chewing something and they didn't like that and they felt like that they were getting gagged, they will separate from a large amount of food. So it is very, very specific. Again, this is why it can't really be generalized as in like, one size fits all. It really is a specialty, and that's why I'm very passionate about it, because I tried so many different things, and it wasn't one thing that helped me. It was multiple things, and that's what you see in front of you. That's what my program is. That's what my book is about. These are the things that really helped me, because we went back to the emotional drivers of it and the identity level of it. If I was identifying as somebody who wasn't worthy or who wasn't deserving, that's a big problem for somebody who's trying to eat and also trying to not bring food back up. So, any questions on the patterns?
I have one other pattern that I've dealt with in the past are helping people quit smoking, and they're always concerned about gaining weight after it. I deal with it during the non-smoking, but that is a very common
Yeah,
cycle.
absolutely. Concern for people who are smokers and then they want to lose weight. That's a very big concern. What's happening oftentimes is an oral fixation, and even certain things. So this was, I noticed very specifically, and if you gravitate towards certain foods at certain times, there's a reason. And one of them in particular, I used to have to go into, as a speech pathologist, I worked in acute care, and I would have to go up to people who were in a hospital bed with their families at a young age. I was only 23 when I graduated college, and I would have to then explain myself as to why I was making this recommendation. Now, 15% or whatever conscious percent of me knew, like, I know what I'm talking about, but the other 85% was like, oh my God, I have to talk to people. Oh my God, and having a meltdown. So I go and get graham crackers before every single room that I went in. And now it's because there are graham crackers readily available in the hospital. And when I paid attention to it, I noticed, I'm like, okay, why this? And there was a spinning on my tongue. Something else was going on my tongue, so I had enough at the time to say, okay, there's something else going on here. What is it? And I started to ask myself, why do I need that? And I could hear other voices coming up. And if you don't know you're in an argument with your younger self, then you're just talking to yourself in circles. But if you can at least say, okay, this version of me, can you come out in front and talk with me? What's going on? When we do that, especially when we do anything with parts work, the biggest key is recognizing that you can stay in this emotional state of holding that younger part of you in safety. Okay, talk to me. What's happening? How can I help you? And you're hearing this younger voice having a meltdown. Okay, you're all right. Let's work through this together. And if you can calm that younger part, what's actually happening is you are having a massive chemical hormonal shift in your body to downregulate your nervous system so you can get clarity. To me, that was very helpful. There was, I do teach breath work because breath work definitely can be helpful. I just didn't know enough at the time to say, I could tell you I was stressed out, and that breathing was like somewhat helpful, but not enough helpful because there was so much else flooding my nervous system. So that's why it really, for me, came down to what was I thinking? Where are my thoughts? Who's in there and who is screaming at me? And how can I get them to feel a little bit better right now? The technique that I just gave you, thank you. So this one is, I'm starting to get quite known for this protocol, which is great. I love this protocol. And this is something that is written for you. You can teach this to your clients. When it comes to the shift protocol, what's happening is, so let's take a negative thought. So let's say the thought is, anybody got a good negative thought right now? So let's say the thought is, I'm not enough. Even in I'm not enough or I'm not good enough, that is still a limited thought, as in the sentence isn't finished. I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough for what? I'm not good enough for food. I'm not good enough for air. I'm not good enough to sit down. I'm not good enough for what? So I encourage people to finish the thought. So let's say I'm not good enough. We'll go with food right now. I'm not good enough to deserve to have dessert. Okay. So we're going to spot the thought. That's the thought. I'm not good enough to have dessert. And we're going to hear it. H stands for hearing. When it comes to hearing it, whose voice is it? Who's talking? And when we can name the age of that voice, or we can give that voice the name, if sometimes it's somebody else, especially if we're saying, I'm not good enough to have dessert, or we're not good enough to have dessert. Okay, we just went from I to you to I. Who's talking? Who's talking? If we're saying I, okay, I'm talking to me. If we're saying you, who just came in and said it to me? Somebody said it to me. And we're going to investigate it. And the reason I love to investigate it is because we can bring it out in front of us. When we can put it out in front of us, we can get distance from it. We're no longer that, but we have that thought. And that can be extraordinarily, extraordinarily powerful. Then we're going to frame it. When we go to frame it, I like to think of it as if it's on the table and we're looking at it with a magnifying glass. We're going to investigate it. Who can come in, and so who can come in with me as I'm investigating it? Who can come in and frame it with me? And whether it's a coach or a trusted person or a guardian angel or Jesus, who else can come in and look at this thought with me that says, I'm not good enough to have dessert, and how else might I look at this? How else might I look at this? When we have the word might, it takes from being right or wrong, and this is the only path to, oh, what is possible? Oh, there's lots of options here. And that can be really, really helpful. So I'm not good enough to have dessert. Okay, well maybe it's not, I don't know if I really want this dessert right now. Maybe I need to look at it this way. Or how much of this dessert might I have right now? When we can start to get more specific and looking at that and being able to investigate it, we can play with our language. In playing with our language, our nervous system starts to calm down. And that's a great thing. And then T, we're going to trade it in for another thought. Whatever thought that might be is, maybe it might be in this case, oh, you know what? I'm allowing myself to have some dessert right now. Or it can be, I allowed myself to have dessert yesterday, and you know what? Maybe I'm going to pause for today and I'll go and have dessert tomorrow. Maybe I'll save it for tomorrow. But this protocol is phenomenal for every negative body pattern. So that's why it's very strategically shifted. So the entire BEFREE method that I teach is an identity shift method. Everything in my book, everything in this program, you can take every single protocol and put it towards money. You can put it towards relationships. You can put it towards anything you could possibly think of, because it all comes back to the thoughts that we're thinking and how can we navigate those thoughts more effectively. So that is a huge thing that I teach. I do have books, of which everybody who came in and got a ticket, not doing half that on time. I'm pretty impressed with this. So, do we have any questions so far? No. Okay, cool. Any client situations that are coming up, or anything that you're thinking about for your clients, or what are you noticing with your takeaways so far? Hi, Richard.
I have two questions.
Yeah.
How do you identify stress in the individual and boredom?
How do you identify stress? Yes. How do you identify stress in the individual, and how do you identify boredom? Those are great ones. What are they saying is stressful? What might they be saying when they're bored?
I used to be a manager of artificial intelligence help desk. So all my clients would get hammered with people calling in with problems and blaming the person, which they're not supposed to do, but they did it anyway.
Yeah.
So my background was into both being bored, waiting for a call, and getting calls that are toxic.
And getting calls that are toxic, especially getting calls that are toxic. And I think, especially if we're doing any client work and then they come to us feeling like we're the ones to blame, when they're kind of jumping on us. That's a huge one.
Well, how do I deal with this?
Or how do you deal with it? Absolutely. Thank you so much. That is a phenomenal question. How are we feeling when that person comes to us? Because we can absolutely take it on, especially if we're empathic, or we're highly sensitive, we can take that on. So if this person is now making me feel this way, what's going on? Who gave them permission for me to feel this way? So we get to do some self-reflection in that. And going, okay, I'm really stressed right now. Okay, why am I stressed? Well, this person called and yelled at me. Okay, they called and yelled at me. Is it my fault? No, but they're telling me it's my fault. When did we decide that you are responsible for solving everybody else's problems? And just in that loop, you will go into your own memory, you will go into your own bank and start to realize, oh, I was probably taught that. I was taught that I had to people please, or I was taught that I had to fix everybody else's stuff. And now I'm taking it on, and that's why I feel really responsible for this person. And what you'll even notice is as you're doing that, one of the things that I love to do, I have an obsession with journals from Marshall's. And I have a huge stack of journals from Marshall's, and what I'll start doing is I will write it out because somebody in here is talking, and now I'm stuck in a loop. It's okay that I'm stuck in a loop. I can start to raise my awareness to it, and I can start to pay attention as to who else is talking. Really, really impactful. One of the things, especially when we don't have strong boundaries, when we try to stand up for ourselves, and we have to say yes when we really want to say no. What's happening is we're getting our voice, we're getting our choice taken away from us because we're too busy focusing on other people and putting them first. This does not go for 100%, but this does go for a lot, especially when you want to say no and you just keep saying yes, and you find yourself eating, especially in that loop, and thinking, I don't want to be doing this, or I wish I would have said this, I wish I would have said that. What's happening, and I will tell you this, and you will not unhear it, you're swallowing your words. As you start to eat, when you're stuck in this, and also what's happening is you're swallowing your words, you're breaking your own heart, and then you're stuffing it down. And you go right past the voice channel, you go right past the heart channel, and you hang out here. And then you have to digest it all. So this is why it's really important. One of the protocols that I teach is what I affectionately call the voice protocol, because we want people to speak up for themselves and not feel like they're arrogant, or not feel like they're being nasty, or that they need to be a certain way for somebody else. We can say a ton of things, and we can hold the frame for it, but if we can't hold that frame, and we're thinking, oh my God, I just said this to my parent, what are they going to say to me? And we're 40, it's a problem. It's a problem. And what we want to be able to do is have those conversations as the practitioner and the client, so that they can understand it's okay. We can work through this. I'm right here with you, and you're okay. And as they're in that memory, as they're having this conversation, as you're walking them through one of the protocols, what's happening is they're regulating, and and that emotional release for them, because there's an emotional driver. You'll see your client hurt, you'll see your client start to sweat, or do a variety of things. Sometimes they're a little teary-eyed like me, and that can absolutely be so transformative, because as that's happening, the nervous system's resetting, and now they can go and have conversations with people without having this flood of emotion. Really, really helpful. Thank you so much for that one. That was a great question.
Welcome.
Any other questions? Anything else? Yes. Oh, 5. Thank you. So right now, if anybody's interested, I do teach a certification course. So I taught a pre-workshop on Thursday, and I had a physician in the room, and I had another engineer in the room. Absolutely spectacular. And I also had a mother of 7 children in the room. So what was really helpful is I do tailor it to be specific for not just the practitioner, but also the individual. And so that way, I mean, we live in a very busy world. I feel like I'm not the only one that's ever had emotional eating issues in their life. So if you're interested, this is my certification course. You're welcome to talk to me afterwards. I made this very specifically because this is what I needed, and it didn't exist, and I wish it had. These are extraordinarily powerful, and I'm so passionate about this, as you probably can tell, because I haven't come up for air yet.
And what if we could teach the next generation not to have this awful guilt cycle thing?
Very much so. That'd be an amazing generation.
There's a lot of people revealing that.
Yeah. I know the manual is floating around, and I do have some books if anybody is interested in a book, but we're also going to give away 3. And any other questions so far? Okay, awesome.
Is the book about the process or about the...
Thank you, Bob. That's a great one. This book is very specifically for the person that is experiencing emotional eating. So I wrote this for that individual. The practitioner program is something that I started teaching it to my clients, and then other people found out, and then other practitioners were like, wait, is this a certification? Like, how do we go about learning this? So that's how the certification course was born, and I actually have it hosted online so that all the recordings are there, and then there's also working one-on-one with me, or we can be a group, whichever people enjoy. It's up to them.
So it is offered 100% online. The course.
Yeah, 100% online. Yeah, but also interactive. Some little chatting. This book is for, you asked, is it for the individual? It is for the individual. And I do my best to be very practical. I was in graduate school, and all they told me was make it functional. So this has been a theme in my life. So everything I make is very functional so that people can apply it as easily and effectively as possible. Because when it comes to emotional eating, it's not, I can deal with it in a week. They need stuff right now because it's happening in the moment. And how can they get themselves to safety? How can they calm themselves down? How can they get more clarity? That's what it's all about. And then even as a practitioner, how can you help your clients more so that this is completely eliminated from their life? If your clients come to you and this is their focus, I promise you there's much more in their life that they want to be thinking about than this. And as practitioners, that is our role, that is our passion, that is what we want them to be able to do, is to live their life how they want and to not be so focused on their weight or their food. Do you have the tickets? Did you? Oh, you gave them to me. Sorry. I can see stuff. This is TJ Zebel, and this is one of my coaches, and also a very helpful AV person. He helped me with a ton of stuff, and the story, the keynote that I shared, was a really individual that helped me. So. You got another?
Okay, who's got the winning ticket?
I do.
That's positive stuff. That's how that works. And we're looking for last 2 numbers, 17. 17.
That's not nice.
And I do have to make a request. I did have to get these from the ticket lady, so I need all the tickets.
We have to give them back.
First, we gotta make sure that, we got the winner. How many do we have left? We've got 4.
No.
So who's got ticket number 18?
Lisa, right? Yep. I think.
Next one. 19. I did shuffle.
Oh, might get a lot here.
And the fact that I'm sitting here pulling out of the middle and all this stuff. So the last one would be, it is not 20, it's 22.
Oh, that's it. I was bullying you to skip 2 numbers.
And again, if I could get all the rest of the tickets out.
Recycling.
You still got
So
one
I
more.
can keep my promise.
You got one more.
One more. I really remembers that.
I
was
number
20.
Hey, there you go.
I'm right.
Some things you just can't make up, so.
Thank you all so much. If you have questions, feel free to come up to me, feel free to email me, however you'd like to reach out. I'm very, very grateful that you all came here, so thank you. I know it's super early.